and I found this very interesting because Spurrier, who's usually one to pop off and be like, hey, he's been very critical, I would feel, of Billy, of like, hey, you need to change something. You need to try something new. Like, what are you doing here? And in an interview today, or yeah, it was today, spoke about we need to have patience. I couldn't believe it. When I heard those words come out of his mouth. I'm trying to find the what his quote was. It says, give him a chance, he said on Monday. Everybody's under contract. Let them earn their pay and keep them all here, and let's go. See if they can turn it around. I think we just need to show a little patience and see what can happen from this year. I mean, all the coaches are going to be there, even if the head coach isn't, so I don't see how it's going to make a huge difference if they remove the head coach. You might as well let the staff stay in place for a while and see what happens. I mean, to be fair, he has a point, right? Like, it's not like you're going to just eliminate all the people, so the issue is essentially still going to be there. I'm not a fan of it. I would think that, look, hopefully the person at the interim coach can maybe bring in a different pizzazz. Thoughts on his comments there?
Yeah, maybe he is trying to play the game there. Maybe he's trying to figure out a way to keep the peace. My only retort to that is we're basically shelling out we're shelling out $7 million to keep somebody that's not going to be here. How's he going to recruit? What is he going to tell the recruit? He's clearly not going to be doing any recruiting. If you take the sample size of what's happened over the first 3 weeks of the season, the guys aren't really playing for him. They're not. I don't know if they're just not really bought into what he's saying, or it's year 3 and they're getting something different in practice, or they're getting something in meetings, but they haven't bought in. Maybe sometimes the best thing that can happen is change, and change meaning somebody else that's maybe respected in the program, respected on that staff can step in, and doesn't have to be the play caller. It doesn't have to be the defensive coordinator. It could be somebody of a different mindset that could step in and give these guys a renewed sense of faith, a renewed sense of like vigor, like, hey, let's go do this. I think sometimes change does that. I think it's a shock. I think it's a shock to the system to say, hey, look, nobody's safe around here. And I think everybody's evaluated, because once the head guy's gone, you clearly know there will be a new guy in next year. And if you're a junior, a redshirt junior, a junior, or a sophomore, or a freshman, and you want to stick around, you may not be portal bound, then guess what? You're basically on an interview basis, and you're interviewing for your next coach, or to put something on film for a team that you might hop into the portal for. So I think there's something to be said about that. But as far as now, it's clearly the guys aren't playing for him. Whether it be because it's his coaching style, or it be because they're just not doing it. He's not getting the best out of these players like he wants to, or like he says he is. So somewhere the rubber has to meet the road, where something has to change. Changing, we had all off season for that, right? We had from the last game that you lost to Florida State, and you knew that you were going to play the University of Miami game 1. It was going to be one of the biggest games in your tenure, in your coaching stint, and you come out and do what you did, and you just Miami, and not taking away from anything from Miami, because I think Miami's a good team. I think Cam Ward's a fantastic quarterback. I think that offensive line and defensive line for them is probably going to be one of the top 10s in the country for each one respectively. But you come out and we get 40 burgered in the swamp. We lose pretty much all the mystique of what the swamp is, especially when the fans have been accused and criticized for being spoiled, for not showing up. The student section, which I know I've criticized for not supporting and not being there at kickoff, they were going crazy, but they gave us nothing to go crazy about. They gave us nothing to be like, oh, we hope. So for me, something's got to change. And if it's somebody else, I don't care if it's a Russ Callaway, I don't care if it's Ron Roberts, I don't care if it's Brandon Spikes. Somebody's got to give these guys a shot in the butt to get them on the same page and to fight. All I want to see is fight at this point in time.
Spikes hasn't been thrown around, and I think he has, because he's been an assistant, but now he's a graduate, so I think he has a little more credibility on the sidelines than what he did last year. Mm-hmm. But think about someone like that will come in. When you see these NFL teams, when they fire their head coach, they'll bring a player in. The Patriots bring in, I think Jared Mayo is their new head coach, and he was a former player. Antoine Harrison, I believe, for the Raiders, previous player, and he was supposed to be an intern guy, but because he has the passion for the team that he's on, that's what that team needed at that moment in time. They didn't need like necessarily an X's and O guys and a guy with big picture, the CEO mindset. It's like, I just need someone who's passionate about this team and passionate about winning and understands the game of football. And thinking about it, Brandon Spikes would be perfect for that. It's like we just need the emotion back. We need to know the importance when we get to Tennessee, what this game means when Kentucky comes into our house, what that game means, and go out there and just play football. Screw the rest of it. Don't worry about this stuff. Just go punch somebody in the mouth. I'd rather you make a mistake trying to murder somebody than just being stuck in no man's land, floating around, looking like an idiot.
Yeah, be a
Can I
villain.
add to that?
Yeah, go ahead, Steve. I'm sorry.
No. You just said, like, after the game, with all the interviews and the players coming out, and it was like, no, it's not the coaching, it's us. We got to do this. If they can say that, if they can realize that, oh, it's us, and they're saying it's not the coaches, how come the coaches can't realize it? Like, why are y'all allowing them to not give the best effort? Like, why are we at week 3 and then you're coming out saying we can do more? We can spend more time doing this. We can spend more time doing that. We got to come together. You guys should already be together. It's season time. Like, you had all fall. Like, where is that accountability? Like, if they can see that for themselves, I've been seeing it. Why are the people in the building not seeing it and holding them to that level? I don't understand.
Yeah, I think, and that's the disconnect that we're talking about. If you're a 20 to 22-year-old or 18 to 20-year-old young man, and you're getting this from former players, or you're getting this from a former player that's a coach, and you're not getting it from your head coach, you're not getting it from your position coach, then there's a disconnect. There's a severe disconnect where something needs to be reset, something needs to change. And when you take the job at Ben Hill Griffin Stadium for $7 million and you live inside those 4 walls, guess what? Everything's on you. Regardless if it's good, if it's bad, it's on you. Your name is in the paper for good. It's going to also be in the paper for bad, because when something goes bad, guess what? Guess whose neck is on the line?
You mentioned at the top of the show, and Stevens mentioned it too. You kind of, when you leave the game, when you leave playing for Florida, I imagine at that time, I don't know how you feel, but you said you stepped away, and I imagine because as a player, what we're going through right now, I'm sure you guys dealt with it to a certain extent. You've got older players kind of having voices and being critical, and I imagine there was a point where you're like, I don't want to be that guy. I don't want, you know what I mean? So you kind of take a step back, but then you kind of come full circle where you do get invested, just kind of organically, like, and not even trying to be all in, but you grow a passion, you grow a love, you talk to these players, and in a sense, you grow that fond of, like, I want them to be successful. So then when that doesn't come in return, this is where we're at now. We're frustrated and want to see those guys having the passion that you're speaking about now. And I feel like that's been gone for quite some time. I felt like they were trying to enable have them understand the rivalry of each game, but I just feel like, again, like you said, that Miami game is, how could you? There's no possible way that you should come out flat. It was everybody. You maybe had like 1 or 2, but it's like, how is, again, just naturally, you should just be riled up. And it felt like it was just everybody was tired from the get go. Maybe their warm up is too tough. I don't know.
I don't know, man. I would hope that. I mean, I feel like, if you come out game 1 and that's the way you look, then that's going to be who you are. I mean, I was willing to overlook it last year in Utah, because there was a lot of travel difficulties. There was a lot of stuff going out there too, from East Coast to the West Coast, a little bit different. But the last couple of years, we've seen the same thing, that they came out flat and then they've kind of just waltzed through the season. For me personally, I'm just not willing to just sit around and watch them waltz through a season again. Like, that's just without change. That's just,
Sure.
It's frustrating, because I know what it takes to be a Gator. Steve knows what it takes to be a Gator, and we know how the tough days out in the sun. We didn't have an indoor practice facility where if it got too hot, we would go indoors. We knew you had to fight every single day for your job. I know if you didn't run after an interception, or if you weren't hustling, then Steve Spurrier was gonna be knuckles deep in your ass. That's just the way it was. Or Urban Meyer was gonna be jumping 2 feet into your chest. So that's kind of what it played out to be. I'm used to that, and I hope these guys get back to a place where they can respect the Gator standard. I know we haven't talked about that in a while, because that standard's technically gone. We haven't seen that standard in years, and that's just unfortunate. That's not who we are.
Well, Shannon, I don't want to take any more of your time. I know you had time, but you've given us more than I could ask for. It greatly appreciated. I think that the chat, there was almost 900 people, not 1,000 people in here earlier. I think they really enjoyed what you had to say. So I really appreciate it. And hopefully we can make some waves with these conversations. But would love to have you back on as always, man. I appreciate it. Tell me when they give you a follow, and hope all is going well. I know you were kind of working with Sonny's, and you've created a partnership with them. So congrats on that. I know that was kind of in the talk
Yeah.
the
Thank you.
last time you were on. So tell them they give you a
Dope,
follow,
dope.
man, and I appreciate you as always.
Yeah, thank you guys. I appreciate you following me, the big boss. You see where I'm at, and I'm just gonna keep it real. So I appreciate you guys having me on.
Absolutely. Stadium and Gale says knuckle deeps in your ass is nuts. And we sign off from that. Mr. Shannon Snell, thank you so
No
much, man. Go
pause,
Gators.
no nothing. Look. Go Gators, bro. Much love. Good to see you, bro.
Later, guys.